Okay, guys, welcome back to more Legacy on the channel. This is Tryhard Tuesday, and today I'm going to be playing the deck that I have been having the most success with the last couple of weeks. I have played 4 challenges with this deck. I finished 11th, I lost the quarters, and I've split 2 finals. So, incredible track record here for the deck. If you're interested in the guide, you can either buy it individually or have it free as a member of my Metafy. So please go over there if you care about any of that stuff. Of course, I'm hosting tournaments, I'm posting guest content, I'm posting strategy articles. Should be a great investment, especially if you have your eyes set on Eternal Weekend later this year. I will only ramp up the content and get as many Barons as possible ready for that tournament. So let's look at this Reanimator deck here. We all know the drill here when it comes to the A+B. So in 2 ManaTraxa, Reanimate Atraxa, watch the opponent go to sideboarding. So that's plan A, right? But plan A doesn't always come to fruition. That's why we play the package of Tamios, Bowmasters, and Murktides. These will allow us to mimic a blue-black tempo deck more often than not. Also note that Reanimate is a perfectly fine fair card. Let's say we see something cool out of the opponent's hand, or we force a will, or vice versa. Then we can use Reanimate to bring those cards back. Tamio gets, I don't know, lightning bolted. It's fine just to Reanimate it. We play a Bowmaster or Mirror match. We start shooting each other's Bowmaster. Reanimate is a card that helps you have Bowmaster superiority. What I like the most about the deck, aside from this very, very robust plan B, is this column of generic disruption cards. These cards don't care if you're fighting Show and Tell, Dark Ritual, Doomsday, Mystic Forge. These cards will be live against any deck. Also, they will clear the way for our own broken stuff. This is why the deck is good, basically. That we can use Force of Will and Thoughtseize and Waste Days, as offensive tools or defensive tools. Mana base wise, we had to do a little bit of shenanigans after Troll got banned, so we're playing more lands. I like 16 colored sources, but we have to think about Swamp does not allow us to keep a 1-lander with a cantrip. Neither do the sewers very often, at the very least. So we're looking at 13 starting blue and then a couple of tapped ones on top. And then the Swamp, which can help us with openings like, let's say you have Swamp, Entomb, Reanimate, Force blue card. At this point, we're going to keep a hand without a blue starting source, so it's kind of part of our opening 7 range. Last point about the main deck, the Brazen Borrowers are the worst card in your deck that you have to play, I feel like. It solves stuff like Leyline of the Void and can, in a pinch, pressure the opponent's life total, and it's helping our blue count. Sideboard-wise, I've been pretty lucky with facing the decks that I prepared for. I think the plan of 4 removal spells and Barrogoyfs, that's like my go-to plan against Tempo Mirrors. But we also have a card like Explosives that can kill not only, tokens and hate pieces, but also Chalice of the Void. Then we have Consigns of Memory. That card does some work against, of course, colorless decks, but also green and white decks. I'm talking about like the Endurance and the Bajuka Box and the white triggers out of the Death and Taxes. Hydroblast is a card that's good against, Red Prison Painter, Red Daze decks, Sneak Attack. And then we have some cards to make sure we get to play the game. Force Negation against opposing combo and Fairy Macabre, mainly for Oops All spells, but it's obviously also good in the mirror, where we will probably trade 0 mana for 1 mana on a Reanimate. But these cards are certainly something you can tinker with if you play in paper or you play in a metagame with less Oops All spells. At this point, I suggest something like Doughty Voidwalker. But enough talking. Let's try and get into some games and see if we can have some cool situations. All right, let's play some Magic here. I'm playing Blue-Black Reanimator. I'm on the draw with Triple Bowmaster, Naked Force, and a Speculative Reanimate. Let's see what this can do. This hand will have to adapt a lot to what the opponent is doing. It's obviously very soft to a bunch of strategies, but I think it's good enough. If we draw any blue card, I like our situation. Let's see if we're getting picked apart here. We're not. Turn 1 Tamio. That's actually a very, very good play from the opponent here. So it could be a mirror match. So yes, we just passed a turn here. Now our opponent has a live Tamio. That means that, you know, these Bowmasters are going to be quite strong, so I don't mind it too much. Let's see what else the opponent can do. I think that's the most important thing here. The Tamiyo, I feel like I got under control. Here's a Bloodstained Mire. Here's a Nethergoyf. So worth noting is Nethergoyf is not something we can kill with Bowmasters because of the fetch line in play. So maybe I just play like this and then hope my opponent goes straight to combat so I can go Bowmaster the Nethergoyf, block the Nethergoyf. But then again, when you have a Nethergoyf in play, you're incentivized to you know, play some stuff beforehand, like a sorcery or whatever. But I think I'm going to give it a go here and let my opponent make that play. It's a bit annoying that I'm going first, quote-unquote, first here with Bowmasters, but I think that's what we have to do. The opponent also played their land drop beforehand, so what does this tell us? When the opponent plays out the third land here, they don't want to keep us guessing on Wasteland. They must have a reason. That reason is probably that they have a Bowmaster they don't want to get dazed if they need it in combat. So that would be annoying, but it's also nice that I can fetch these non-basics without being too worried. Let's see, my opponent didn't play a land drop yet. I probably fetched double basic. And I'm going to try my plan. Unfortunately, my last two draws didn't have any blue card, so I don't have the backup. Now next turn I can double Bowmasters thanks to Reanimate, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I get forced. Okay, this cannot be a good sign. I expect my opponent to slam like a Baragoyf here. Oh, Kaito, of course. Yeah, got it. Okay. So, not ideal. Kaito gets in there. Yeah, I'm losing this game pretty hard. So here comes the Surveil, pumping the Nethergoyf further. So let's see, am I supposed to double Bowmaster? Probably. Okay, my opponent likes one of the cards. I draw Tamiyo, which is a bit late. So let's see. So double ping Kaito, maybe? Wait a second. So we go, let's play Wasteland. Let's play Orcus Bowmaster. Ping Kaito. Reanimate, ping Kaito. Pass. Now I have Force of Will, and I just daze check my opponent. They would have dazed that Reanimate if they had it. So this Force of Will is good. So I probably have to... Oh, wow. I wonder why my opponent is attacking with the Nethergoyf. I feel like I should take this damage and then try and worry about killing Kaito on my turn. It doesn't feel good. So my opponent's hand is Tamiyo. Okay. So there's a plus. Tamiyo, I'm going to let that resolve. And probably going to have to force a Will of Fatal Push in this game. That's what it smells like. Land. How much of a concern is my life total versus getting Surveil going? So let's see. The opponent attacked with Nethergoyf. It's kind of interesting. So they could have double push. That would be very annoying. So I think what I'm supposed to do here is play land, attack everybody on Kaito. My opponent will block the 2/2, and then I can hopefully kill Kaito and the Tamiyo in one swoop here. Let's see if that's true. Pretty complicated situation here, but I don't think I have much of a choice. I'm still not sure about playing out this land, actually, because, let's see, Kaito goes to the yard, this grows. Yeah, maybe I should have played the other land. So now I'm going to cast a Bowmaster, which will grow the Orc army and ping Kaito. I'm going to do it before damage, obviously, because it's a combat trick. And now I expect to Force a Will a Fatal Push. All of which I don't love the situation of. I'm doing this to kill the Kaito. My opponent has 2 cards in hand. I hope they're cantrips. That's how I win this game, I feel like. So I'm at 5 here. I managed to kill the Kaito. My opponent played well with the emblem. I'm blocking here. Don't want to go to 1. Now my opponent has a bunch of cards. But they also have some dead cards in the deck. Okay. So now I need to find a live draw for the Nethergoyf, I feel like. Brainstorm should be good enough. I'm not beating an opposing Bowmasters, so let's brainstorm. That's funny. That is funny. Entomb, Reanimate. So, funnily enough, I think I'm going for my 4th Bowmaster here. Is that true? I think so, because I would really want to shuffle these. I'm at 4. Entomb. Could also go for Tamiyo. Is that better? Tamiyo will be a nice draw engine. Let's see. If I go Bowmasters, I go to 2 life. I grow this one to a 4/4. Then this one and a Bowmaster can trade for the Nethergoyf. Then my opponent can replay it as a small creature. I don't know if I'm interested in that. What does Tamiyo do? Tamiyo forces me to chump block and then attack my way like back into the game, searching for Murktide region mainly. This is a very, very interesting spot. Oh, I already have a Bowmaster down there. Okay, well. So now at least I'm not going for a, like, I'm not thinning my deck here. So maybe I'm just supposed to, like, Entomb for Entomb. Is that crazy? Entomb for Entomb. I'll try the Tamiyo out. I'm not sure this is I'm not sure I have enough time to play the plan like this. So I'll go to 3 here, and I can't beat an opposing Bowmasters, so I need to outdraw my opponent and win the game before. Yeah, that is a problem. If I attack with this, I feel like I should attack like this, get in for 1, chump with the 3/3. But yeah, this is not ideal. Funnily enough, more copies of Reanimate is live on the Bowmaster, except that puts me dead to Bowmaster at any time. Yeah, I'm probably losing this game, but I'm trying to give myself the best chance here. Okay, that is an unbeatable card, because now my opponent is forcing the chump here. And then they even have a, a flyer here in the bank. So I'm not beating that. I guess I need to draw exactly the 4th Bowmaster to stay alive now. And then they're going to play a flyer and finish the game here. Okay, that was a cool game. Kaito showed why it's an awesome card. So let's see, how many cards do we have here? Have 7 cards. In theory, 8 cards. And I don't love my forces. Daces are fine. So I wonder how much my opponent will think about my graveyard shenanigans. I'm actually going to try and sideboard like this for game 2. And then maybe have the combo for game 3. So I'm going to try and play fair with my opponent. To some extent. The other way around, right? So, and then for the next game, I could have like Daces and Forces instead of this package. But I think this is fine to test the waters to see how much stuff they're bringing in. Okay, I'm positively surprised about... It's very rare that I have done recordings in the past and played against like S-tier decks. It's usually some blend of fan favorite decks rather than the absolute top of the metagame. I'm very happy about that. I think that's the best showcase of interesting gameplay. And also what I find the most fun myself, so pretty cool. Okay, this hand is fine. I think playing out the Tameo turn 1 is the way to go. Very often it will either die or my opponent will, you know, develop their own or cast a ponder, look for an answer. If my opponent wastelands me here, hats off to them. That would be an awesome play, but I trust that won't happen very often. Bloodstainmire, pass. So I imagine if you have the removal spell, you don't let me get to this point. So pretty happy. I will probably try and flip the Tameo. Is that it? Is that even true? So let's see. If I brainstorm, my opponent might deal with it because it's kind of worth dazing, right? And now I really want to find my second land. So this is probably where I slow down and cast Ponder because it has a higher chance of resolving. I think these are... Yeah, so now it's going to be, no matter how we slice it, it's going to be obvious that Wasteland is going to be amazing against me. So would I rather high roll and try and spike the land or take the Wasteland and accept 2 kind of bad draws afterwards? I don't love any of these options. The Wasteland is not useful as a land destruction spell, but it is very useful at cracking clues, casting Barrogoyf. Animate Dead is quite bad. Thoughtseize, I'm not going to cast until I have my mana up and running. This is kind of the worst case scenario. I guess the worst case would be casting a Brainstorm and having it countered, or casting a Brainstorm and seeing these cards with the inability to shuffle. So in theory, I could Thoughtseize myself, put a Trax into the graveyard at some point. Is that a thing? All right. Let's try this out. So now this could either, by far the most likely thing from the point of view of my opponent is I don't have a color source. And then there's the next level of that where it's like I want to give my opponent a reason to slow themselves down, wasteland me, and I keep attacking with Tameo. Also, the wasteland, funnily enough, kept my opponent from surveilling end of turn, which is kind of funny. Okay, so my opponent kept a 1-lander. Or they have they have a tap land. Okay, same thing. Something that didn't help them cast Daze. Okay, funnily enough. So they didn't fetch end of turn. They already had the sewers. That's kind of funny. So now I'm in this terrible position of what to do with this Thoughtseize. I could also Brainstorm. That'll see Animate Dead and 2 new cards. That's probably what I have to do before I get Thoughtseize, Wastelanded rather. I feel like I have to hit a land here, or we're probably not playing this game. Yeah. Now we're probably not playing this game. So, Trax, Yeah, this is just hopeless, right? Atraxa, I guess, put Brainstorm here because that card is the best card in my hand. And now do I wasteland my opponent, hope they can't play the game? I'll try. Ah, okay. I kept the bad Ponder. That was on me. I cast a somewhat aggressive Brainstorm. That's on me. Yeah, it didn't exactly work out. So now my only plan is my opponent can't play the game either, and it looks to be somewhat the case. Wait a minute. I should probably play the Tameo out here and believe they don't have the second fatal push. So next turn I'm gonna draw Atraxa, and then I can force the flip. So now I have to dodge some stuff. Okay, the opponent drew an island. That is probably the game over for me. Let's send Tameo into the zone here. And cast Brainstorm, I guess. My hand is very bad. I have 3 absolute dead cards. And get dazed. My opponent did not have a window to daze me earlier, I believe. They only had the swamp. Then they played this, and I had a mana open, so I could easily get dazed here, which is, you know, annoying, but I don't think I'm allowed to sit around here. Brainstorm in response, looking for the daze. If my opponent already had the daze, they wouldn't do this, because now they open themselves up to daze, so. Let's see it. Okay, here's the Force of Will. The thing is, this was a easy play for the opponent to make, because, first of all, I've been missing land drops. Second of all, I'm trying to flip a Tameo, so even though getting a Brainstorm forced is a good thing in a vacuum, in this scenario, it was a very good thing for the opponent. Thoughtseize here, taking care of, I don't know, I have a super blank hand here. Opponent takes care of the Bowmaster. It's kind of interesting. Maybe they don't have their own. Let's see if I can find a land and get into the game. Nope. No land. Baragorth is unbeatable. Nethergoyf is castable. What's the play here? I'll try and take the Nethergoyf. See if that works. Attacking. Also worth noting, if there was a game 3, knowing that they have Cage is important to note. So this is a cool game where I'm not going to have the game 3, but let's say you are in the future. The opponent Thoughtseizes us. So first of all, they show hate. Second of all, they have Thoughtseized and see we have our whole plan in, because once they see the enemy dead, that's where they know we have the whole plan in the deck, and that's where you can pivot completely for game 3. All right, that's going to do it here. I'm going to throw in the towel, but I just wanted to make that quick point that the information exchange here was quite good for going completely fair for the last game and have like Daces and Forces in place of the combo, and then try and beat their, you know, hate, willingness to mulligan, and just overall treating us as a combo deck. Then that would have been a great spot for that. But we lost game 1, so no spot for that one. Let's try and play some more matches. Okay, let's play some more Magic here. Let's see if we can get into the game with some lands to work with. That would be a lot better for a viewer experience. So I'll keep this hand, and I'll start the game on Basic Island Ponder. It's not ideal, but it's pretty cool. I have, 4 deltas and a swamp in my deck, so maybe I can be sitting on, consistent mana during the game. And with a hand like this, with a million cantrips, I think that's awesome. So what is important to think about when fetching basic lands in this deck is your inability to go double black spell later. Could be something like Entomb, Reanimate, Thoughtseize, Reanimate, whatever the case may be. These cards seem good. Reanimate is speculative, but will explode if I manage to find an Entomb during this game. So let's say I get Thought Seized. Might want to hide the Wasteland in that case. Maybe I go like this. So worth noting is this Flooded Strand does not access basic Swamp, which is a bit annoying for this draw in particular. With the Tamiyo version, I prioritize the blue fetches, but it's certainly possible I should be thinking about that more. Okay, so we're up against Lance most likely. Or Maverick, I guess. Well, some Steps deck, I guess. Which means the Bowmaster's probably going to be terrible. Okay, banned colors. Loaming those two is not a problem. We can accept that for now. This means we kind of have to get a move on here. That also means our Wasteland is bad. So what I want to do here is cast Brainstorm right away because I have my Shuffle. Entomb would be insane, obviously. So Bowmaster's very bad. We can for sure get rid of that card. Do I think I have time to like develop a Tamiyo? Yeah, maybe so. So what if I go get rid of Bowmasters and Wasteland? Fetch Honor Ground C. Hang on to the black fetch for Swamp later. Deploy Tamiyo to hopefully slow down my opponent, or, you know, give me a flipped Planeswalker to stress my opponent, so that I make time for Entomb Reanimate. Because right now, I don't know if my opponent is a Plow deck or what they are. So, let's see, Mox Diamond. Okay, Reclaimer makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to think about that card is probably something I have to counter, even though it really doesn't feel good. Because it's probably a card that gives access to not only a combo win with Stage Merit Lage, but also, what am I thinking about here? Bajuka Bog, right? So I think I'll keep digging for Entomb here. I do hit the Entomb. So now I can choose to slow myself down a turn. I have force backup, or go for it now and not have force backup. I don't love that. I don't exactly love that choice. Ooh, yeah. So hard, actually. So I lose to Crop Rotation Bajuka Bog. But if I wait, I beat those cards, but, you know, something new can emerge. Maybe that is okay. So let's see. How do we play? I think I play by going... Put back land. Put back... Reanimate. This way, I draw the Reanimate next turn. And I already made my land drop this turn. That means I can Atraxa into Wasteland next turn. So this is certainly not perfect, but it's very hard for me to say what's the consequences of passing the turn here. But what I could say was the consequences of, you know, getting crop rotated there. That is probably losing the game. So, okay, my opponent goes for that card. Knight can bounce Atraxa. This is maybe where I go for Archon. I feel like that's the move. So I draw. And I Archon my opponent. I think that's how you play. Let's go for a basic here. Entomb, Reanimate Archon. Mainly because that Knight is just so annoying. So if I get to force a crop here, I'm a genius. Okay, the opponent's a Brainstorm deck. What on earth? Okay, so is my opponent also a Force to Will deck, or are they just a Brainstorm deck because they play like Loam and stuff? weird things going on here. This is like the League experience where you play against a bit more rogue decks and you have to react to a lot of things on the fly. It's very hard to predict what's going on. So that's also good testing. We played against the established blue-black tempo, and now some rogue deck where we have to learn as we go. So Plow, Knight, Reclaimer. So they have the whole, like, they also have a Loam here. Okay, Archon eats Knight, a card in hand, draws me a card. That's obviously amazing. With that being said, if my opponent has 2 relevant cards, like, I don't know, double Plow, I guess, I'm in trouble. So I like my chances, but I'm just saying we can still lose this game. Dredging Loam because the cards were bad on top. Okay, so I guess that's kind of a good sign. They don't have any consequential lands out here. Also note that Archon is decent against Maze of Ith, something that Atraxa cannot boast about. Let's see. What do you have here, opponent? Loaming those 3 lands. You got it. Wasteland? Sure. Okay, Wasteland nothing. So I like this. Force of Will in the back pocket. Archon getting into the red zone. Brazen Borrower. That is not a card that changes the clock. But it could be a card, let's say the opponent finds a way to resolve a plow rather, and could be playable later. If I drew a blue card there, would have been the champ, but I drew a Thoughtseize, which is fine. But I can't even imagine what my opponent has here. What would my opponent still have in hand? Yeah, they didn't want to show. What would my opponent still have in hand at this stage? I guess just bad cards. At least cards that don't help here. So well played by my opponent to concede there in response. So let's see. Yeah, my opponent showed Knight. Is this an Urza Saga deck? Maybe like a 1-of Saga. Don't think they'll have many. I think I like Consign because I expect my opponent's part of my opponent's counterplay to be Bajuka Bog. I don't love my Dazes. I don't love my Bowmasters. I know my opponent showed Brainstorm though. Oh. My opponent did show Brainstorm. So maybe I just go like trimming and then adding these cards. I add removal. I add a little counterplay. I keep 2 Bowmasters because my opponent is maybe also like a Sylvan Library deck or whatever. I think Bowmaster's probably just very bad. Maybe Explosives is better with Mox Diamond and Reclaimers in the mix. Then I have to add 1 more card. Is Negation good? Theory, it's good against Loam, but oftentimes I can kind of ignore that part of the deck. But it's also not just, it's not terrible just being a blue card. So yeah, I'll go down to 0 Bowmasters until I know more about my opponent's deck. I trust their ability to play Brainstorms that are not poorly timed. So this hand is funny. So I have Archon in my opener. And I have a Force and a Reanimate. So let's think. If my opponent plays turn 1 Reclaimer, I'm in trouble because then if I go to clean up with Archon, I get Bajuka Bogged. If I force, I can't go to clean up with Archon. So maybe this hand is... I'm going to try this for science. I don't think this is bad. It's bad against the turn 1 card I have to force. But other than that, I actually like my chances. This is funny. Okay, I'll try this. The Zero Lander. Okay, so let's think. I think my plan now is to try and top dig a land. And kill it with push. I feel like if I force there, I'm not winning the game ever. So let's see. Okay, we brick here. So now what I'm going to do is discard Archon to effectively force my opponent to have, you know, Reclaimer mana up. So in theory, they could go like land, activate Reclaimer, but you could bucket right away because they're scared. So I'm trying to make the most of a terrible situation. Looks like my opponent is in the market for letting me react. Okay, so that's not a land. Let's maybe I just discard Reanimate here and abandon that plan. I guess our opponent will educate us here. Okay, so they like playing this slow. So the double force is going to be solid for later. Let's discard this. This was a cool one. It had all the stuff to lure me into to keeping here. I obviously didn't run the math or anything. Okay. I've seen enough here. Let's go to game 3. I didn't run the math, so who knows. So the cool thing about days is that it can actually catch something here on the play. So I guess I'll have a single days in my deck. That should be good. Yeah, Reclaimer, and obviously not drawing a land, really messed up that one. The mana base is not really on my side today, so obviously the 0-lander doesn't count. I brought that upon myself. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, my brainstorm needs to hit a land. And it probably also has to hit, like, connect with the force. I don't know if that's even feasible. I feel like I should take the turn here because I don't have any 2-drops or 1+1s that are, like, mega clutch. So, working on the variance a little bit here. So now, the thing about Brainstorm is, I feel like I'm just looking for a land. Then I'll be fine. So that's why I ponder. In case I wanted to find like 2 cards. Oh, wow. This is atrocious. So, let me just finish that sentence. In case I wanted like 2 cards, then I would Brainstorm to give me the chance. Ponder only finds 1 card right away, right? So, like that, like that, like that. Mill over the Fatal Push, draw the Entomb, and then now I'm just super cold to Wasteland. I managed to find a few spots where Wasteland was very effective. Sometimes you can play, I don't know, 10 matches in a row and Wasteland is a non-factor every time, but I'm actually been in trouble many times here where I have to be at the mercy of my opponent's draw. So I managed to dodge Wasteland here, luckily for me. Reclaimer is something I can kill with Fatal Push, so I can't force it. I'm drawing Entomb here, though. So now I'm gonna Fatal Push the Reclaimer. My opponent now knows Wasteland is awesome, because I'm not playing a land here. The cool trick here is end-step Brainstorm. Like, my opponent's end-step Brainstorm is not atrocious because I can shuffle on upkeep with Entomb. Here's Dark Depths. Pretty scary card. Here's Reclaimer. So, let's see. I feel like I should Brainstorm in response here, because if I find a black source... Okay, let's take this from the beginning. My opponent already made their land drop. That's something that I cannot state how important that is, because now I don't have to think about Wasteland. Now I can freely Brainstorm, try and find my black source, and if I do, I can go upkeep Entomb, Reanimate. So they kind of for free let me debate what to do here. And I don't think my opponent's going to be playing any more stuff. Okay, so this is pretty good. Double Entomb, double, but no force here. No force. That means crop rotation is going to be alive. So maybe what I'm doing here is I don't like the explosives. I want to shuffle with Entomb. I want to go and get Archon, probably. What's the alternative? The alternative is I kill this with explosives and then go for it next turn. Let's count the mana. Explosives taps me out. I then get a random draw for a Force of Will. So maybe... But maybe this is... No, because if my opponent stops me here with a crop rotation, I think I'm just losing the game, because then they have active Reclaimer. But my opponent will make a 20-20 if I stick around too long. Okay, I'm going to try and go for it here. Mainly because I don't like the alternative. I feel like my opponent is a crop rotation deck. So my only hope is that they're too scared to get forced, so they trimmed them or something along those lines. Let's go for a little Archon. Wow, I spiked the blue card. So I guess Fairy Macabre will stop me here. Here's Endurance. Here's Force of Will. Okay, so the opponent had double here, which is a problem. Not gonna lie. And now my opponent has that card online. So my opponent is now out of Bajuka Bog, hopefully. But maybe there's a Vesuva in my opponent's deck. I'm not sure. I wonder... Oh, this is to attack for 3? No, that can't be right. This is to get blue mana. That can be right. So now I don't feel like I have a choice. I should try and go for Atraxa here. Let's see if they have more. I can't remember if Vesuva works how I fear it works. And I have to test my opponent that it's actually in the deck. Oh, right. They sacrifice and then go Echoing Deeps. Yeah, perfect. All right, so very hostile towards the graveyard. Drop Bajuka, drop Knight Reclaimer for Bajuka, and then Endurance on top of that. Yeah, that's exactly how you should build your green deck these days, because so many decks care about the graveyard. I'm a combo deck out of the graveyard, but so many decks care about the graveyard. These cards are very bad, so... Yes, I put back those two, and I hold up a Wasteland, and I just cast Entomb for the shuffle. So now my opponent will start building the Merid Lage, I feel like. I wonder how many Dark Depths you would run in a deck like this. Probably 2. Okay, Flagstones. Okay, my opponent's, I guess, just respecting that Wasteland. 2 cards in hand. Those could be like Endurance. Those could be Klaus. So let me Entomb for an Entomb here. The classic play. Where is it at? There it is. So now I'm hoping to magically beat my opponent with creatures, which is very, very unlikely to happen. Sacking Flagstones, get a little bit of value in. Here's Tundra. Here's Wasteland. So this is probably just my opponent building for killing off my Wastelands so they can combo in peace. Okay. That land is dead. So let's see. Unsettled Mariner. Okay, so everything has Ward 1. I remember this from Modern Humans. That was a cool one. Unsettled Mariner. I wonder why you would want that. Please let me know if you know why my opponent is running that card. Because I could just pay... It's not like it protects the 2020, right? You just pay 1 and get it over with. Okay, my opponent starts attacking here. An underrated mode of Eldritch Reclaimer. Here's Bitter Triumph. Let's build a Reclaimer and pay 1 mana. Alright. I mean, if my opponent has bad card, the problem is they probably have at least 1 plow, so I need to have some crazy good draws to win this game. But it's something like, you know, Cameo, get it plowed, draw Murktide, I guess. Here I could have chosen to kill the Dryad Arbor. Should I do that? I probably should to slow down the clock. My opponent is pretty far away from... Oh, wow. Okay, that's why they play it. Ah, that's not good. That's too funny. Now, let's see. I also learned a lot from you. Yeah, that's not impressive. So my opponent continues the beatdowns here. And it's looking very bad here for the home team. Could have killed it there. I really don't know if I should. Maybe I should. Yeah, I probably should have killed it there. Okay. I got a little flustered from the misplay. All right. Good games. Sweet deck. And that puts me at 0-2. Let's see if we can get one more match in there and hopefully get a win or some cool situations to learn from, like don't be tapped out and try and wasteland a Dryad Arbor with Unsettled Mariner in play. All right, guys, round 3 of Tryhard Tuesday with the big bad wolf of Demir Reanimator. I have yet to find a win. Could be my own fault. Could be anything. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed the ride so far with some cool situations. Tough choices on my end, I feel like. There was a few ones that I wasn't confident about. This hand looks fine. This hand has potential. Doesn't do a whole lot right now, but has some potential. So if I surveil turn 1, that's probably what I should do, right? Because it's pretty clear cut what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for land. I'm not looking for additional reanimation. I would keep something like a Force of Will. I don't play removal, so I don't have that, let's say, dilemma of seeing a removal spell without knowing the opposing deck. And then I can brainstorm and surveil once more on turn 2 if everything goes as I predict. I accept. Entomb combos with Reanimate. News at 10. So now it's time to see if my opponent are in colors that can stop that. Okay, basic Swamp. I'm not too scared about that. No Days. Maybe Force. Let's see what the play is. Getting Thought Seized here. So now you can argue my opponent should take the Brainstorm, in which case I will hopefully make them pay. Reanimations are redundant here. Brainstorm looks deeper, but my opponent just knows I kept the card on top. So let's say they take the Reanimate to not get nut drawn. Then I have a lot of time to set up with Brainstorm to hide from the next discard spell. So with all of that being said, I feel like my opponent is taking one of the blue cards, and they have to hope for the best here. Yep. So the basic swamp doesn't make me super scared here. I will try and produce ManaTraders. All right, casting that card onto Atraxa. My opponent needs to be Demir and have force blue card here to beat me. Atraxa resolves. The dream is always to exactly this, find a force of will to hopefully ice the game. Instant, creature, sorcery, land. I already have a fetch. Am I worried about life total? Nope. So a nice little draw for. Note that if I had one more card, I could have taken Archon instead of Murktide and then binned it for hand size. That is always an epic sequence when that happens. So now my opponent should probably, unless they have like a combo deck that can try and beat me, they should probably concede here instead of showing their deck. This is something that is somewhat underrated, or at least underutilized. I oftentimes see people give up their deck in a game that they have 0% chance of winning. Of course, I don't know if that's the case here. I'm just saying a black deck, if a black deck is trying to deal with Atraxa, it goes to the graveyard. They've seen more Reanimation. They've seen Force Blue card. So I'm just saying, okay. I'll eat my words here. So if my opponent is a combo deck, well, that's the first thing I said, unless they can actually win with a combo. Pitching Boggart Trawler. So this could be like the Necrodominance deck that did well the past week. So in theory, my opponent could clear the way here, Necrodominance into 1,000,000 cards. And we have a game. Here's Dark Ritual. I'll make a stop on my upkeep in case this is something like Sheldred or whatever. Dark Ritual. Oh, wow. So my opponent had a really good hand. And they didn't want to unmask me last turn, or didn't have it, I guess. Okay, so here's the Necro. My opponent has 1 mana up. So something like March is a card. March of something sorrow. They play, oh wow. Going to 1 here. Am I dead? That would be extremely cool. No pun intended about the name here, but that would be awesome. So I had Entomb, Reanimate, Force of Will, and if I get killed here, that would be amazing. That's a very good showcase for the opponent's deck if they're able to beat that. So let's see what kind of plays they're working with here. Soul Spike twice, I guess. And then we're living in a world where they accept I can reanimate it again. Let's see. They have to discard down to 5 after this. So I can reanimate Atraxa, bounce the Necro, and that would be annoying. Most likely. Let's see. Also, I feel like they don't have the March. Then they would have just used that and exiled a bunch of cards, right? Yeah, now they have to discard 7 cards. That's really not ideal. And I'm bringing a Reanimator, bringing Atraxa back here. Then my plan is to hopefully go find another horse. And then maybe bounce the Necro. Alternatively, I guess, Thoughtseize. So, wait a minute. Soul Spike, does that go to the face? This is kind of cool. So, if I reanimate Atraxa, I go to 6. I think that's still fine, but it's scary. And I didn't think about the Thoughtseize math. where if I Thoughtseize, I lose to a single... Yes, exactly this. If I Thoughtseize, I lose to a single Soul Spike. So let's see. That one... Necro's even draw, which means Bowmaster is live. So I guess I go like this, land, sorcery. Those 4, let's put those in a hand. And now I have to consider what is best, bouncing or bowmastering. I could see Bowmaster being quite nice. Should I just play it now? That sounds goody. Play Orcish Bowmasters. Discard a land. Hope to live through this turn. Wow, that's a sweet deck over there. I'm down to 6 here. I already got Soul Spike twice. My opponent could come up with 2 more Soul Spikes. I'm dead. But I'm punishing them on the draws at the very least. Yeah, Magic's a beautiful game. When you can play against the... like one of the best decks in the format with your Necrodominant mono black deck here, and even fight off against close to a nut draw. Turn 2 Attraction with Force Backup is nothing to sneeze at. So let's see what this is. So obviously I could have enemy deaded the Traxa. Was that my mistake? Because I was so focused on probably bouncing the Necrodominance. I feel like that could have been a fatal mistake. Kudos on my opponent for playing a weird deck and then making my decisions harder, because that is inevitably what that was about. Not a situation I've seen before. My opponent obviously kept their best 5 cards out of the cards they drew off Necro. And now making sure they can only draw 3 cards off Necro, right? Because they pay 1 life each time and they get pinged each time. So let's see, in theory... This is a problem. But in theory, there will be a lot of Bowmaster triggers. I can't remember what this card is. Okay, so this can drain me out. That's cool. That is very cool. Oh, I should have dazed this. That was very bad. Okay, so that's a big mistake on my part, because this just cares about casting. And now what the opponent can do is draw 7 cards and kill me here. Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. Well played. If I daze there, my opponent can only cast... well, their ability to cast spells is going to be a bit limited here. So I guess I should have just hit all of my opponent, I guess. Or maybe I'm just losing to everything that matters here. Cabal Ritual. So now I'm dazing, and I feel like I got very lucky if this works. I'm dead to a Soul Spike, I believe. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to win this game. My opponent earned this one. That was a very bad play on my part. Necrodominance. I think Consign is like a time walk against that, so let's have that card in the deck. Wasteland is atrocious, so we can easily trim that. Cutting a Bowmaster, I feel like drawing a single copy is going to be easily, enough. Am I ever winning with Murktide? I very well could. Can I cut 2 Wastelands? The answer is probably yes. All right. Let's try again. Up 1-0 against the Necrodominance deck, but I feel like I didn't play well there. Also, I think my opponent knew about that daze, which is kind of unfortunate. Because, well, did they? Yes, they knew about the daze from the second Atraxa trigger. All right, I love this hand. Double force Thoughtseize is amazing. That means I have redundancy if I get like unmasked or Thoughtseized. If I get the breathing room and my opponent goes like tap land pass, I draw a blue card, then I can Tamiyo. Leyland's in play from a 7-card hand, so that's pretty good for the opponent. My current hand doesn't care about it. Okay, let's see what this is. Hopefully it's Dark Ritual. Thoughtseize. I feel like I should let my opponent have this one. So I expect it to be a tough call between Tamiyo and Thoughtseize, because Tamiyo is a way to ignore Leyline and win the game. Thoughtseize is a way to buy infinite time against my opponent's combination deck. Blue card here would be insane. I don't draw a blue card, I draw a Wasteland. Okay. So I feel like it's a good place to decide to tread water, because in this case, I care about like draw steps passing by, because if I connect on the next blue card, I can play my Tamiyo. I don't, but this is funnily enough another way to keep sitting here. So now my second Surveil is gone. My opponent's on 0 lands, so I also don't want to give them infinite time here. I would love to connect on the blue card so I can actually go for this Tamiyo with peace in mind. But maybe it's just time for Tamiyo here. Yeah. The cool thing is my hand is still Thoughtseize and Unmask proof, because they can only take 1 force and I have another. So getting the Tamiyo going is gonna be useful. So my opponent with 3 cards in hand, if they soul spike this one, I will force a will with Murktide, which is kind of funny to think about. But it's only because my opponent's investing so much. If it was like land fatal push type of deal, then I don't do it. Let's see if the opponent can put up another fight with bad odds. I guess this will help them a lot. They know the ritual necro is not going to happen. So I want to get into a spot where attacking with Tamiyo gets me closer to the win. Let's see if that is going to happen. Thoughtseize that card. Sorry, Dark Ritual that card. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent is less... Okay, so we can't let that happen. I need to counter that card. So now I need to draw a blue card, but I have a few draws to do it. Great draw. So I could flip my Tamiyo here. And I just might if I... Maybe that's exactly what I need to do here. So I ponder first, find a blue card, fetch, crack my clue. I like taking the Murktide because it's so bad. So I want to leave like real cards in my deck. Crack a clue, flip the Tamiyo, and then make this my clock, basically. My opponent knows about the second Force of Will, and they should assume that I connected on the blue card. Cabal Ritual is something I have to accept here. Necrodominance is something I certainly cannot accept. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. Brazen Borrower. But maybe I should hang on to that. I'm gonna cast this Brainstorm because I play Thoughtseize in my deck. Oh wow. Did I play a land this turn? I hope not. Didn't play a land this turn. But I guess I just draw the land next turn. That should be fine. Let's pass. It looks like this Tamiyo is going the distance here with me finding triple Force of Will. I'll slam the Bowmaster end of turn. It seems kind of free to start working on my opponent's life total here if something weird happens. Play land, attack for 2. Opponent has to beat a draw 20 and a Force of Will. Leyland of the Void is a card that forces me to play my plan B, and Murktide Radiant is part of that plan B. So I liked my opponent's sideboard plan. It just didn't quite work out this game. All right, to good games. That brings us to the end of the video. I had some very cool matches, I feel like. Some questionable choices, some hard choices, some puzzles to solve, and a lot of just interpreting what is in my opponent's deck. So obviously I could have researched this deck more because it won a challenge this past week, right? So I didn't look into the exact numbers of the deck. So just a good reminder that all research can be worth it before you least expect it. So yeah, Reanimator didn't exactly dominate the tables, but that's okay. I think the most important thing when you play the game is that you learn, you look for scenarios that, let's say, expanded your horizon. And I feel like we succeeded doing that today. With that being said, that's it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you want more Reanimator content, head over to my Metafy. It certainly has done me well in tournaments, but unfortunately, it looks like the leagues are a little bit too hard. So yeah, all in all, fun games. And thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll see you back next time.